Power Hour with John Lee.
Cinema, Mr. Stanley Kubrick. Wow, I mean, 3. Same with Hitchcock. I mean, you have to get 3 to be in it. So there are directors who are not in this because they didn't come up with 3 individual projects that I value as a platinum film. And I could be wrong. But Stanley doesn't have that problem. He's got the opposite. It's which ones do you choose and why? So the ones I've gone for were Space Odyssey 2001. So there's a very conspicuous fascination with space that we can see coming from Stanley. And Space Odyssey 2001, again, I would put it in the pantheon and the hierarchy in terms of quality and in terms of innovation. And it's one of the most studied films in history. We know the classic when the bone flies up, the caveman, the Neanderthal, throws the bone up and it turns and it becomes the space station. Very nice, very innovative, very clever. And so Space Odyssey 2001 is probably not the most popular space-related film, sci-fi film in history. It's up there, but I would say probably Star Wars. But is Star Wars better than Space Odyssey? Don't know. I mean, you guys can answer that one. I think it's a good film. Not one of my absolute favourites, but definitely an important moment in cinema. And incredible in terms of the quality. You watch it back now, it's brilliant. The way it's shot is amazing. And then we've got Clockwork Orange, which is a total departure, really. It's not like that. It's not that kind of film. But in terms of what we call mise en scène, and this is what I was referring to earlier, people throwing French expressions around, but this actually is what it is. It's not fluff. It means what's in the scene, that which gives you information, So if I'm sitting here with a gun, that gives you some information. If I've got a bear's head on the wall behind me, that gives you some information. So that's mise en scène. And so Clockwork Orange is just an exhibition of that. It's absolutely incredible. Every scene is full of little indicators, and that's what Kubrick's known for, communicating on so many different levels, way beyond the spoken word, and that's actually exemplified in the film because they speak in their own language, more or less. And so you're not really following the dialogue in the same way as you normally would. You're trying to figure it out, obviously, but it's not as prominent as is other forms of communication, particularly the mise en scène. What's in the scene, what's in the image, what's speaking to you, that you're looking at. And it's a disturbing film. It really is. I mean, he's getting the brain treatment and all that, the LSD, the MK Ultra mind experiments really happened and really, really was terrible. And so we see that in the film. And Kubrick does a lot of that. I mean, a lot of people will be thinking, what about Eyes Wide Shut? Yeah, I know. Eyes Wide Shut, exposing the Illuminati, exposing these sex and devil cults, which is a story in itself because today I've had to go for The Shining. I don't know why, I just had to in the end. I couldn't not more than anything else. If you prefer one of the other two, Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, or anything else, that's fine. I don't think I'm more correct than you. I've just gone for The Shining because it affects me every time, strongly. So what's the crack with it? It's a story of an ordinary man, really, called Jack, who wants to write a book. He's a writer, budding writer, aspiring writer, and he wants to write a book. But he hasn't got too many professional qualifications or opportunities, and so he's kind of more or less looking for menial work or physical work, but not really wanting that in life. And he's got a wife and a kid, and he's offered a job as a caretaker in a hotel, and it's up in the sticks, and he has to do it in winter, so he's going to be snowed in all the time with the wife and the kid in this massive hotel. Now, most people wouldn't be overly enthusiastic about that. But Jack is, because he wants to write a book. That's the whole point. He wants the solitude to write a book. And so they go there and he starts writing a book. And he's got a big room and he's in there typing, and he starts getting angry with his wife for interrupting him, even though she's a lovely girl. And he's snapping at her, and it's quite uncomfortable to watch. And then, I mean, the hotel, I'll get back to all this, but the hotel is not your average hotel. And she starts to get scared of him, get scared of Jack, and Jack's connecting with this hotel in ways that are hard to explain, and so is the son. Really, it's only the mother that just sees it as a building, as a hotel, which is what it is, ostensibly at least. And so Jack goes crazy quite quickly. It's not a long process, and he gets violent, and he starts abusing his wife, really. And she doesn't tolerate that. In her meek and mild way, she slaps him with a baseball bat and sends him flying down the stairs. And then she drags him into a storage room and locks the door. And this is before, this is before he gets out. One of the people in the hotel, apparently, lets Jack out, and this is when he goes out really, really psycho. And the famous, infamous scene, bang, bang, with the axes coming through the door, and he's sticking his face through. Here's Johnny, like that. And she's there cowering with the knife. But anyone would be scared of that maniac with an axe. And they make quite a rudimentary escape in the end, the wife and the son. And Jack freezes to death in the forest. So spoilers all over that, but, you should have seen it coming. So how does he tell the story, and what's significant about it? Well, everything, every single frame, really, with Kubrick. So you start in a film where you've got this little yellow car on a winding road going down, precariously close to the ridge or to the edge of the cliff, and you're looking at it, and it's a winding road like that, and it just looks so small, that car, and the cliffs look so big, and it just keeps you immediately getting an uneasy feeling from it, like a strong breeze is going to blow that car, deep into the valley, and it's going to explode. And so it's kind of making you nervous from the beginning, to the point where right near the start, I was watching it the other day, and it comes on like that, Tuesday, and I jumped. I thought, well, if I'm going to jump at the word Tuesday, I'm fucked. And I was. And how does Stanley Kubrick do that to you? Well, one of the ways he does it is with the colour red. As we know, the colour red means blood, it means danger, it means death, and it's represented in that way always in cinema, certainly in thrillers. And so, for example, in The Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan, I think it's pronounced like that. He made this film about a guy who's dead and doesn't know it, basically. And whenever you get close to death, it's symbolised in red. There's a door that he can't open, and the doorknob is bright red, and it's the only red thing in the shot. And he goes to a funeral, and the woman who's done it is in a red dress, and everyone else is wearing black. So this film, The Shining, is chock-a-block with red. Everywhere you look, in every scene. And when you realise that is done to make you uneasy and to make you nervous, and you see how prominent it is in The Shining, to constantly reinforce the idea that death is just around the corner, you think you're pretty ruthless, really, aren't you, Stanley? You know what I mean? You're not giving the viewer even a second to chill out. And this is supported with the piano, with music in general, but the piano is so heavy in it. Ding, 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 that kind of stuff where it's just offbeat. It doesn't give you a rhythm that you can actually settle into. And of course, I mean, mise en scène, as I said before, everything in the image is telling you something. You have to pause it every couple of seconds to really analyse it properly. But yeah, I mean, the drama of the scenes, the two young girls, the children in the hotel, the woman in the bath, the general vibe of everybody and the way they talk. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, you must watch it. And look out for the moon hoax evidence. So we know about the moon landing. I think it should be called the fucking about in the studio. where they're supposed to be on the moon and driving the buggy about on the moon and all that. And many people believe that it was Stanley who actually filmed that. And so when you watch this film, when you watch The Shining, you see that there are many references to the moon landing. There are some really obvious ones. He's got the rocket on his jumper, and the same image is up in big pictures in the hall. And there are many alternative explanations for that, like they landed on the moon and Stanley was happy about it. Other people think, well, he's just leaving that in there the way he does to say, did I film it? And if so, was I on the moon? No. And one of the things I think is illustrative of his mentality, and he's got this reputation for being difficult. When he's typing, when Jack's typing, and he's snapping at his wife about how he needs to work, there's a very famous scene where she realises that he's just been typing, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And the scene, she's going through it frantically like that. And the template or the organisation of the words and the paragraphs on the page is different constantly to reinforce the idea. You can see it, that it's not just a photocopy. Those words have been typed out in a different format on every single page. So Stanley has told somebody to go and type that sentence out thousands of times. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That was really typed out thousands of times. So Stanley could get the shot of that, and you could see that these are not just photocopies. So that shows that that attention to detail. And of course, we get the Kubrick shot. I mean, I think there are probably many examples of it, but there are two that are really strong, and one's back in Clockwork Orange, and one's here in The Shining. And this is where Stanley has the actor leaning on the door, and they're leaning on the door and they're looking down, and it's menacing, it's terrifying, and it's angry. And Stanley's under them on the floor with the camera shooting up, so you get that particular angle. And it just works really well. It's simple, really, but it just works really well. You see, just because they're not actually talking to anybody, because they're just facing a door, so it's kind of a pure, these are my emotions, not what I want, emotions that I'm going to give to someone else. This is what I'm actually going through behind a closed door, and I am a scary cat. And Kubrick gets that across really well. So I mean, it's just a wealth of possibility there for selection with Stanley Kubrick as well. And The Shining, so came out in 1980.
Hello, Danny. Come and play with us, Danny. Forever. Ever and ever.
Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
41 years ago. Okay, so strong start. Who can possibly follow that? Well, maybe Oliver Stone. And I have to say as well as apart from being a great director, he's also a tremendous writer. I think he's a great writer. And in fact, the reason I say that to you is because he wrote all of the films that I've given him. And that's not why they're in. I think they're tremendous films. And he wrote them. And he directed them. So I think he's a massively talented man, Oliver. And the three films I've chosen are JFK, Natural Born Killers, and Platoon. Yeah, there are others. I know there are. He also made Alexander the Great, which was a steaming pile of shit. And Colin Farrell was just crying his tits off all the way through it. So, I mean, I don't really know what he was doing there. Too much cocaine, I think, for Big Stoney. Anyway, JFK, why is that an important film? Well, obvious reasons. It completely debunks, as people on the internet love to say, completely debunks the official story of the JFK assassination. I mean, systematically and scientifically destroys it. And actually forced a new investigation into it, in which the second commission, not the Warren Commission, in the 70s concluded that it probably was a conspiracy. And that's a fact, so check that before you call somebody a conspiracy theorist. And then we've got natural born killers. I don't know where the inspiration came from, but wow, that is a hard film to watch. I've watched it once, and I don't need to watch it again. You know, the film's emblazoned on my memory, and the scene, you know, where he's kind of realising that her father is just a nasty abuser, sexual abuser, and a beast who attacks his family, and it's done in this kind of game show sitcom blend. It's really, really difficult to watch, and that's what he wanted to do, and he achieved it completely. And then you've got another totally different style of film, which I've chosen, and that's Platoon. And the reason I've chosen Platoon is the following. I think it's the best Vietnam film ever made. And if you ask me tomorrow and make a few good points, I might say, all right, it was Apocalypse Now. And it's interesting that it was father and son. Martin Sheen was in Apocalypse Now and Charlie Sheen was in Platoon. I just think that Platoon is he's just put it on a screen. You know, he just said, right, this is it. Make your mind up. What do you think? To a large extent. And how has he done it? Well, instant submersion is the technique, or rather what I've decided to call the technique. So as soon as the film starts, you're just thrown into Vietnam. You're there. It's dead bodies. It's body bags. It's people who look like they've been to hell and back, staring at you. I mean, they're supposed to be staring at Charlie Sheen, but effectively they're staring at you. And you think, what can put that look into a person's eyes? What terrors has this man seen? And Charlie's looking at this and he's all baby-faced and fresh and thinking, oh, fucking hell, I don't want to come back like that. And, you know, that really comes across to the viewer, but it's not overly accentuated. It's just there with Oliver Stone. I think that's the way he's done it. And really, immediately, you're kind of into the jungle. And there's this magnificent shot where the camera's moving through the jungle and it's looking up, and you can see the sunlight breaking majestically through the trees, through the leaves. And what you've got is a canopy, foliage, trees, you know. And there's a tree line. And it forms a kind of snow globe whereby this thing that you're in, this world that you're in, is separate from that which is above. So it's beautiful beyond the trees. It's blue and it's bright and it's wonderful. And then below that line, it's hell. It's absolute hell. And you really get that kind of effect. Can I jump higher than that canopy? No, I can't. So can I escape? No, I can't. I'm in the fucking jungle now and I'm in hell and I could die at any time. And so that's what I mean by just putting on the screen. It doesn't need to be overemphasized because it's strong enough. But if you wanted to emphasize it, a good way of doing it would be narration. And that's the way it's done. It's done in the style of letters home to his granny, his grandma, whatever you want to call that. And he's writing these letters, and it's not overdone. It's just, you know, sporadic, and it's in there where you get a paragraph of a letter to his granny describing what's going on and the context around the events, which is a useful tool, and it's well done. Simple, honest, but also very perceptive. Because Oliver Stone, you see, was actually in Vietnam. He's a Vietnam vet, and he wrote this, and he directed it. And that kind of authenticity, I think, makes it stand out a mile from the rest.
I don't know. She's going on about why we kill the pigs. They're farmers. They got to make a living. All that kind of shit. Jeez.
Không phải là vợ cậu. Ở đây không có là vợ cậu, không biết không? Tại sao vậy hả?
sao cái ông gà của tôi? Ông nín đây tôi nói.
Đừng có nói. Shut up.
Hả?
Ông mi bắn chết. Im lặng.
Quá mà.
Im lặng.
Không mà.
Ba ơi.
Ông đến đây giết heo, giết gà phải không?
Ông không mi bắn chết.
Hold your orbit. Guns, pull up.
So yeah, I mean, just returning to that cinematic point of the way he's done it, he's painted hell onto the canvas of heaven, you know. So when you look at it, camera back, and you see the skies, and you see the trees, and you see the, you know, the general landscape of the place, it looks beautiful, objectively, but then he's just smeared terror and death all over it, and that's what it was, you know. And everything that you're seeing on the micro level here is destruction and death and desperation and the absence of hope, as he says at the start of the film. Hell being the absence of hope, and it's set against this beautiful backdrop, and you think, what the fuck are you boys doing? All of you, you know, just put the guns down. You know, it's not about what colour you are or what army you're in. Just stop it. You know, and more than that, way more than that, the rich bastards who are profiting off this war, you know, we need to find out who these people are. Honestly, it's just a sick demonstration of power over the poor, because all the soldiers, as you go through the film, the vast majority of them are almost illiterate, small town boys who've been drafted and sent there, no choice. And no real opportunities in the hometowns either. So, I mean, that's connected to the idea that it's just a glamourless environment. There's no glamour involved in it. And so there are scenes where everyone's running around shooting each other and they're shouting and screaming. You know, the Americans, whether they be white, black or anything else, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, they're doing the same thing. They're all terrified out of their minds. And you can kill 15 people and then get shot in the head. There's no glamour to be found or achieved in this environment at all. And the way this is done, I think, is a kind of passive cinematography where he's not getting involved. A lot of directors do, you know, they want you to notice the camera, they want you to notice the cuts. He's not doing it like that. It's just kind of passive, blank, nice open squares. Obviously, you're going to get close-ups and they're well done, especially with the shade at night in the jungle with Willem Dafoe. It's a beautiful shot. But generally, he's not getting involved. And it's relentless, you know. It literally will not stop all the way through the film. It's just, whoa, fucking hell. And, you know, you think, Oliver, can you not just chill out for a bit? And he's answering you through the film himself. He's saying, no, I can't just chill out. The Vietnam War did not just chill out for a bit. And that is the point that he's making. And kind of sacrificing a lot in terms of what he was able to show of his directorial prowess throughout the film by just letting you decide what it is that you're watching. So Platoon, definitely got to go in there for me.